Hey, today I'm actually going to do an unboxing. I did already kind of open it a little bit to make sure everything was there, but of this year's 2024 PowerSheets. Um, and I'm really excited because this is my, let's see, sixth year of using them. I say that because this was 2018 and you can see how thick that is. The, and then 17 or sorry 2019, and then they moved to like this style cover and these rings in 2020, and it's really fun to look back over your goals. And so the biggest difference between the power sheets and your typical planners, um, and you can see that it's a lot thinner between even this. They started streamlining the work and or the prep work and things like that, and this is a lot more, so I'm kind of interested to see how this year stacks up against it. I'm interested to see how this year's is going to stack up against this year's. This one I actually didn't wind up using a lot because I got really into Notion and planning, but I still find myself coming back to this methodology for reconnecting, setting my goals, and I like having something physical in my space to also remind me. Even though I work on a computer, and I usually have my phone with me. Really bad about screen time, y'all. But I'm I'm really excited to dig in, because they started out mainly just doing this type of goal setting planner. And then a couple of years ago, they started introducing other things into their planning line, which really accompany and go along with it. Now, my planner side of it is all digitally run, so I don't have the extra planners with this, so you're not gonna see that. But let's go ahead and dive into what's in my box this year. So as I said, I did open this to make sure stuff was in there. And so let's go ahead and open it up and see what is here. So the first thing I want to show, and this is actually something I did put in there, because it's not something that I used, but this kind of goes along with seeing how they do the 90-day planner. Because quarterly planning is something that I was introduced to with the Cultivate method, and then got reinforced with a coaching group I'm part of, and I just really haven't looked back since. So that's one of the reasons, and we'll take a look at this later, to kind of see what's in there. Some things I got are, they also have these write the word journals, which are more like you can do your Bible studies. This one's refresh your mind, just because sometimes anxiety hits in, and just I want to keep my mind in a good place. So much more things. Um, got my pencil pouch because I already have some of the other pouches, so I'll pull out and you can see my setup from this last year. And then quick start guide for goal ideas, so we'll take a look at that later. I did get the Wildcard pack. So in the past years, they've only ever had here are your wild cards, and it's been a bunch of different things, but this year they actually did different themed packs, which I was really excited about. So you've got business. So I run a business as well as I work a 9 to 5, so this is going to be handy. You also have your home and spaces. We live on a little 5-acre farm, so kind of making sure we've got those rhythms going as well is good. Plus, we really want to enjoy our home because, it's good to enjoy the things that you've got. I've also got, these are just the favorites. So I think this is going to be more along the lines of some of the packs in the past. And we can take a look and see what is in those, or I'll just kind of reveal those as I use these throughout the year. And then you've also got health and wellness. That's something that I have very truthfully neglected a lot, that I'm going to also be focusing more readily. I'm really excited because we just had a Hot Works that will be opening soon in our area, and I'm kind of excited to try that out because it's close to my house and enough money that I'm actually going to go, as opposed to something that's kind of easier to write off with it. And then of course family, because family is important with that. Um, and so the other thing that's in there is we've got a habit workbook, which is something that they came out with, I want to say closer to the summer, because one of the things that moves you closer to your goals is not necessarily, of course, it's the actions, but a lot of times you have these goals that it's not an overnight process, or it's not, step one, step two, step three. It's, you have to continually do these, build the habits of the people, or build the habits towards the identity of what you want to become. So there's that. There's a kind of see. And I know I said I don't really do planners, but I got the monthly planner, simply because, especially as I'm planning my content and things, I like having just a very quick monthly view that I can go to look at. And that's not easy to do in a lot of the digital tools that I use, mainly because, your calendar, if you've got so much stuff, you can only fit so much in the view before it just doesn't compute anymore. And so I think we've all kind of run into that. And now this is the main. So this year I decided to go, because they always have different color. They always have different cover color options. Last year, last year I went with the blue. I really do like blue and green. I've never really been like super girly girl, and in all honesty, it's like, this is about as frilly brand as I go, but I do like flowers occasionally. So anybody concerned about branding always resonating, branding doesn't always resonate with me. I also really love their color coding system, which I'll get to in a little bit. But that was last year's. But before I open this, I'm going to show you kind of what my usual setup was the last time I was really heavily using it. And one of the reasons is they have these carry-all pouches. They've got different ones. This one I got a couple of years ago. And so what's in here, now, and over the years they've released different pouches and things. And so last year they had these goal guides that go through, and it was like individual. And I think what they've done is probably like streamlined a little bit, and where you can kind of see is they've taken all these different ones that they've done and put them into this. And what you see here is kind of like their patented color coding system, which I've actually adopted and I use throughout all of my productivity things, just because that creates that color thread that helps my brain see what's going on. So these are some of the old ones. It's full of like different ideas for goals. This talks about like their actual goal setting, as well as you've got different, skills to teach kids, which I think is really cool, because for me, teaching my boys life skills is definitely one of the top things at my parenting list. So I will do that. All right, and then these are some of the older versions of these. These are like for couples, finance, parents. And what I've done to kind of reuse these is, I don't necessarily like fill them out, but, well, I did kind of at one point, but it's things that you can take and reuse those questions in like digital tools each year to do. They have something similar for this. I don't know if these are more workbook style versus these are more just like ideas for things. So it's really been interesting to see how, as a business, they've evolved over these years as well. So this is the accessory pouch. So essentially you've got your carry-all pouch. if you go this route, your accessory pouch, and then the one that I got, I'll go ahead and open this. Detecting a blue and green theme here, y'all. Is this one's like more fabricy, satiny feeling. This one's a little bit more vinyl. This is also vinyl, so these wipe right off too. This is for pencils and things like that. So I tend to live in a digital world, but when I have the pens and things, which I think are also in here, I can just transfer those over. Yep, totally do. But you can see in here, what's in my bag is yet another goal setting sticker book. I tend not to use the stickers. So I have a lot of these sticker books. I might just package them up or see if I can find somebody that wants them or whatever. Like, let me know if you guys like to use stickers and we can figure something out. But oh, my little pencil's not in here. But that is pencil I'm looking for. This is another old setup. This is bullet journaling stuff, so I'm betting the pencil I'm looking for. Yep, it's right there. So what I can do is I may take some of these that I will use, and since I have my bullet journal in there because I use that for other things, I'll transfer some into there. Okay, so but I enjoy colored markers and pencils as much as the next person. And so you can just kind of put them all neatly in there. You know, kind of flatten it out, and then that can go inside here, or it can become another pouch. I like to compartmentalize things because then I've got all my writing tools, and then I can have, like, if I've got, you know, these guides, the guides were in there, so I can kind of put those in there. But for right now, we're going to move those off to the side, and then actually I'm gonna take that underneath there because that's usually actually where it lives because it's really easy to grab. But one of the things I like to do sometimes is, you can see, don't use the stickers. This is the 22 edition, is that I'll just do all sorts of different ideas. So last year I did go through the prep work to get to my goals, and then I kind of did everything digital. I discovered I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of doing pure digital because that was a experiment that I did this year. But I will open. These are going to go all over the place, so I actually won't go through these. But let's take a look. So we're going to look at this little habit workbook first. And it gives you kind of just some ideas to work through. I like that it's like you can do positive, negative habits. And then there, again, everything is always tying back to goals and why, like what habits you've got, which if you don't think you have habits, you do. We're humans. We're built of made up of habits. But then it gives you kind of the power of habits. My guess is they probably look at some stuff from like Atomic Habits. There's a book called The Power of Habits. There's a lot of different stuff. I like that they have these little dot pages. So if you like to draw or are more artistic than I am, or I will still draw, but mine are glorified stick figures. But it just gives you different ways to do it. Talks about like how to cultivate your environment. Actually, let's go back to table of contents so you can kind of get an idea of what's in here. It was somewhere. I saw it. There you go. So essentially, it talks about, you know, basics of habits, how you can kind of change beliefs, environment, community routines, and change your schedule. Which I think is really important because you're not always going to be at the same schedule depending on where you are in the season of life. And then you've got, you know, your troubleshooting guide, habit trackers, which I will probably convert those to digital, something in Notion. So that might be a future video, because I'll show you how I use all these things in tandem throughout the year as well. And then further reading. So I'm betting I've read a lot of these. Oh, wait. Okay, it's not a pocket. It's just extra cover. Stoof. Let's see, recommended reading, Atomic Habits. Yep, better than before. I've read that. I have not read The Common Rule. Cultivate, I've read. Cultivate is what got me into PowerSheets in the first place. Thank you, Miss Laura Casey. I've read a John Acuff book. It might be finished. I don't know. I'd have to go look at the title. For Tendencies, definitely have read that one. I might have read 4,000 Weeks. Have not read Strength to Strength. Have not read Habits of the Household. Oh, that might be a good one. Definitely. Definitely have read Power of Habit, and I'm actually in the middle of Tiny Habits. One that I would probably add to this is a book called Work Clean, or Everything in Its Place. It kind of has two titles depending on where you're getting it, by Dan Carnes, because it talks about like the bringing like the mise en place, which is to put in place that a lot of chefs and things use into your daily life. And there are some, how they do that is they build habits and things. And so that's one that I would recommend, add to this recommended resources. But a lot of those books are really good. Now I've got a couple more that, should I continue to go down my, reading rabbit hole of that, I will add to those. But here's the thing, you don't want to just read a lot of these books and not actually implement. If you're new to this, or you're trying to actually, you're like, 2024 is the year I'm actually finally going to get organized. Well, one, I do recommend kind of looking at goal setting planners, because it's like, well, why do you want to get organized? What is it going to empower for you? But then you can also do, starting with like one habit, or find one framework or read one framework, implement it, and then and when I say implement it, I'm saying like give it a good, 3 months to really work or not work for you. I've done that with this method. I've done that with bullet journaling, and all of that has definitely come into shape how I use my digital tools and how I set them up. We're just going to take, ooh, the cover of this feels really, really nice. It's kind of satiny, but it's kind of not like, I don't know if you've ever, I've been to trade shows a lot just because of work. And we had these business card one time that had kind of like this, almost, it's not leather, but it's like, I don't really know how to understand, but it's like super smooth. And I don't know. I'm probably gonna give these to my boys because they're just gonna sit there and like pet it. And I'm sitting here, and sensory things are a thing in my house. So, but you can kind of see, maybe, I don't know how much detail you can get, but a little bit there. You can kind of see where it's got this little gridded pattern in the other. It has that kind of what's the word? Linen feel a little bit, but it's like, it's weird. It's weird, but pleasantly so. Like the little stitch detailing there. All right, so the monthly planner. This one really is just the high level, where you've got, here's your year at a glance. You can do month by month, and then each one's going to be this. I really like this approach to it, because there's nothing magical about January 1st. Like zero, zilch, nothing. You can restart anything at any point. It's just, is it going to be one day, or are you going to make this day one? I don't remember where I got that. That's not original from me, but it's a big one. But you can see, like, you can add fun days, and there's like a whole website that is all your marketing. So for me, I might want to take this and go through it and put in what are the social media or marketing holidays that are relevant to my business or that I want to participate in, and go mark them down, where I can just write them in each of these squares. And then this could be, you know, for my priority, since I kind of set that a little bit differently, and it's going to be reflected a little bit in here once we get into these. But then I could use this to be like, what's my monthly content theme? Because I like to operate in a theme for a month, just because that helps me shape content and kind of set some of the expectations too, and gives me something that I can cycle back through. But you've got like I like this because it's like month before, month after. So if you've got something that comes up, you can kind of go, oh yeah, this is what it's doing. Or, and then like each one is like this apparently. So we'll just go through April. And I mean, it's a very, very basic monthly collection. And that's really what it is. Like, and like that's what I expected it to be, and I'm happy with this because this lets me have my high level strategic monthly plan. I will probably bring this out when I do my initial planning. I will do my first 3 months, and then I might put in just ideas that I've got for the later months. So you can put, if you're running a business, you know, your coaching business, you can put your launches on this. You can put definitely when you want to do vacation. I will probably do a future video where it's like, okay, here's how I approach monthly planning. Here's how I approach this. And then I like this is you can do reflect on this season or this year. They do a lot of reflection, which is a piece that so many of us stop or skip or miss when we're, you know, if you're somebody that like you regularly set goals and you regularly do them, then do you go back and reflect and celebrate them? Do you go back and, you know, kind of look at what we've grown? Because we all grow every year one way or another. And it's up to you whether you want to intentionally grow in a certain way or just kind of continue to react to how you're doing that. But it's like favorite memories, favorite media. So if there's something you read or whatever, you can also fill this out as you go. This also gives me ideas for things I might want to capture in my Notion setup, but I can also do it analog here if I want. And then just all sorts of places for notes. Ooh, okay. So here you can do, you know, so I might challenge myself and create like a task in my Notion of, you know, go fill out this month's, you know, one thing. So I can do like, you know, what's one thing I want to remember about January? What's one thing about this? Or if I have a couple of them, I've got space to do that. And then more notes pages. So yeah, this is going to be very useful from a high level planning point of view. And so that will be in that. So I'll put everything together once I do that. So now, finally, let's look at this. Slide this off. This I did not open. I just made sure everything was in there and that it was the right color. So. No, they don't make it easy. Okay, so let's see. I'll take it out and we'll kind of do a side-by-side comparison with this year's and last year. So if you're kind of unsure about this, we can do that. And I don't know if I said it before, for the record, like they're not sponsoring this at all, period. And to say like all of this is from my yeah, out of pocket. So this there we go. So we'll do that. So they've kind of gone back to, so we'll look at 3 years for fun. So they kind of went back to this placement for this. Grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. I actually kind of liked this one better, rather than being down here. But you can see that's all, they've kept the edge protectors, this, all right, so let's go ahead and open it up. Every year you get these things in the packages. They do have like a 10 color system, but they really give you places for like 8 goals, which I think is really good because then you have a little bit of flexibility if you want to kind of color code. So everyone comes with a little stickers. Again, you've seen I regularly do not use these. Digital stickers, heck yes, I use that. But I like this, that this actually got a bit of an update. Hang on, let me go grab one of my old ones because they give them to you every year. And so I don't know what year this is from. It's basically been one that I've just kind of kept hanging around. But I also realize everything's backwards on this. So let me change this setting real quick to see if I can get this. Oh, I know why I did that. So it's a little bit easier. Well, since this is about you guys, not me, let's do. There we go. Okay. So now you can see everything right. Everything's been backwards up until now, which is fine. I'm not going to worry about it. But again, this is my first time using this setup, so there's bound to be some bugs to work out, but you get to see it. So this is the new one. This is one that's been a while. You can kind of see where I wanted to make it nice and pretty, and so I did. But that has been updated. And so once I decide my word for 2024, I'll do that. This is another calendar at a glance, which is nice to do that. Oh, good. We've got holidays and things on it. All right. So I'm just going to tuck those back in there for safekeeping. The stickers can go back too. That way I've got everything together. They generally have this protector page in, which can kind of be handy as a oh, my brain just stopped. As like a bookmarker thing. And they have like lock-in bookmarks that you can buy and things, but since mine tend to be open to the page anyway, I just forwent that. Plus I think I've got some from previous years. So where PowerSheets really kind of stands apart from other planners is you've got all of this prep work for things. And so it's kind of helping you just kind of set it up, and things definitely change because it does change a little bit from year to year, and I think it just gets better and better because it gets more distilled, more focused, so you can get through it faster. And again, the prep work is not meant to be a race, but you can kind of get to that. All right, I can see the path forward. Let's set goals faster. So you don't want to skip the prep work because one, if you're getting this type of planner, that's really the biggest reason that you're getting it. Because we want to set intentional goals, not goals just because somebody says we should or that's what it is. Like this is something that's very personal to me as well. But some of the things that kind of stay the same is you've got your they have places where you can put these wild pages that are there. Or they eliminated that one. So this is going to be the 2022. You can see that we've got the same kind of dig in. I like the addition of the dots because I'm somebody that does, obviously, I've done dot journaling and things, but it just helps me keep my handwriting neat. And I think it's important to kind of do this in handwriting, which is good. But you can do so a little bit different ordering here. But they do have things that are, learning from the past, like what's holding you back. Which I thought was really good. So since I didn't really go through the prep work here, I might kind of go between the two, or I could reuse this one for my for business, one for personal, to kind of keep it a little bit focused that way. So as I mainly I did all this digitally last year, which is why you don't see this filled out. But challenges, something that has always been part of this, and I like that they moved this further up, because usually, as you can see me flipping through here trying to find it, it's further back. So this is where the color coding kind of comes in, and honestly, it's like it drives me a little nuts that finances isn't green, but that's me. But at this point, I've kind of made peace with it. It's like finances is periwinkle, which is fine. But you can see that it's consistent. One of the things that's different this time is that, one, they've condensed it a little bit easier, but the other is, instead of this fun and recreation, they've given us this wild card category, which I really, really love, because if I didn't want to use this to kind of go through and focus more business side stuff, I could literally put, this is my business, and then that's what becomes that eighth category. So moving this up is good, because that way you can kind of really, I'm an analyst, so I like that it lets you quantify it, and then you have one of these each quarter. So don't get too hung up here. Seriously, don't. As somebody that's very experienced with the system, because if something's low, well, okay, is it something that might be something you want to cultivate, or it might be something that you're like, you know what, it's low. I can deal with it being low right now, because this other thing is something that I really want to keep and maintain at whatever level it is. This is all for you. Nobody else has to see this. I might share mine. Who knows? But I like that they moved it up in there. And then you've got, mindset work, which is really big. I think it's kind of in here too, but it's just, oh yeah, here you go. Cultivate your mindset. So it's similar. But you can see, negative mindset. And last year it was like self-talk. But I like that they give like the whole might become. So these two are pretty much the same. There, let's take a look. And then it's like naming what matters. And that's something that has been consistent throughout. But again, I like that they moved. Oh, well, this is big picture vision stuff, so this is a little bit different. But I like that they moved the evaluation up, because that helps kind of level set you as you go there. So from a process standpoint, I approve. And then they brought this page back, because it's not in this one at all. And I like that it kind of gives you a one page of, hey, at the start of the year, this is where I am. And then you can kind of look back at it over the course of the year, or seeing that, which I think is really kind of good. And then this is where you kind of choose your focus. And so again, it's brainstorming goals, which is doing so, but from within the system that they've got here. So what I'll do is since I've used this before, I will actually go with like community, and now I've got the where did you go? And then this is where you would take this out, and if you were stuck on goal ideas or things like that, you could read through and use what's there as inspiration. So as an example, I'll go with community. I think it's first. Yes, no, maybe, possibly. Yeah. So community. So you can see the consistent color coding, which helps create those threads. So, it gives you like, here are your big dream and finish line goal ideas, which I like how they've kind of separated that out. And I'll get to that when we get to the goal setting section. But you also have, so one of them would be, let's see, build, say cultivate my friendships, and let's see. So for me, and interestingly enough, this does fit into other categories too, but it's like, might be of like find and join a gym, or activity-based group, which is good, because then I'm not only like getting more community and connection with people, I'm also attending to my health as well. So I like things that overlap, because you're kind of getting more bang for your buck that way. Work smarter, not harder. But then it also has like monthly action ideas. So if it was like find or join a gym, well, I already have kind of done that, but I don't know any of the people there because it hasn't yet opened. It's did open in a couple weeks. But you know, the monthly action ideas might be, well, I wouldn't really want to go monthly. I want to definitely go a couple times a week. So that would be, you know, here are weekly action ideas. I go to the gym, you know, at least 2 times a week. And because of the way it works, is like I might be with the same people, I might not. It'll be different, but at least I can kind of get to know the different people that are there. And then you also have like daily action and habits and things. And then they also give you some books you can read because I'm an avid reader. So if you ever feel stuck, you can do, like I know I've got Give and Take, but haven't read it. I don't know. I might have Atlas of the Heart. I haven't read it. I'm really bad about buying books and I have a lovely to be read list. But then you also have like these different gathering ideas. So there's a lot of like support work here that if you get stuck, you can be like, oh, well, that sounds good. And, or, you know, this is not setting things in stone. I want to say this like you're setting your goals and your intentions, and then you're kind of building your plans around them. But plans are guidelines that are going to help you kind of adjust and course correct. And this system has that. So you've got, you know, yearly goals, which are the same. So I like, and we kind of saw a little bit of it here where they've now got this newer framework. Actually, I want to see if it's in here. Because I think they did a lot of updates that really, just on a brand note, because again, I'm an analyst that's in marketing that does brand things. And so I don't see, I like that they've actually come up with the framework that they have, because again, I don't see it in the old work, and I don't remember it either. Yeah. So I like that we now have something that's a little bit, because then that helps really reinforce. So they've got break it down little by little, on purpose, on a schedule, and measurable. So we've all heard like smarter goals, or well, SMART goals is the one most people use. I like smarter goals, which incorporate some of these other concepts. And so I like those, like here's how you break your goal down, and they give you really good examples. And so once we get to this goal action plan, that is, you know, last year's design, this year's design. I like that we've got, and that they call them seasons too, because that way if you've got something that might be over a couple of years, you can do, okay, well, season one, it's not saying like, you know, January through April. It's not time, it's time bound without being time bound, which I like. Which actually reminds me, did they? No, I don't think I covered here. But you can kind of see there, and I actually want to go back because I remember, oh, here we go. So the way they approach goals, and I feel is probably the most encompassing of any system I've encountered, because you have people like smarter goals. Well, what about like the big aspirational dreams and things that I've got, or themes in my business that like they don't have a start and finish or anything like that. And that's where like these big dreams come in. Um, and I was already calling mine like dreams and themes and stuff like that before they switched over to big dreams, because it was like it's creating the big aspirations to get to what the measurable goals are that are going to get you to toward that aspiration, or the habits that you just have to kind of build up and repeat that help you develop into that person, or whatever that aspiration is, to help you live out that aspiration. So these basically don't have a time constraint on them. These are the ones that are the measurable and the time constraints. And then the habits are just the ones that you are maintaining. So that's the breakdown. I really, really love it. And then you can do, once you decide what your goals are, because there are, you can't really make them out with this angle. Let me see if I can change the angle. You can kind of see them a little bit better, but very, very faintly, you have places for those goal flags where you can, where I can take, my community flag and put it there if I have one of my goals for the community. And I have other sticker books that have way more flags and things, so I'm not limited to this. Or you can just take your marker and do it with whether you can change up the color coding or not. But that's one of the ways you can use that. All right, and then so you've got the reference, and then it helps you kind of break down the goals, why you want to do it, because I think why you want to do something is important. And don't just ask why once, ask it multiple times, because that really helps you get at the underlying reasons. And again, nobody has to see this prep work. It can only be for you. But this is also thinking as well on what is the yearly or the as close to a year as possible time scale. We're not talking 3 to 5 years. We're not talking, 10 years out, etc. This is like, okay, within this 1 year. Because some of the bigger picture stuff is, back here in the prep work, and then you go down. And then, so there's like 8 pages. They're all the same to do that. And then one of the things I love, because we are so bad at and again, this is a quote from somewhere and I don't remember who it is, and I apologize for not being able to attribute it properly, but it's, we underestimate how much we can get done in 10 years or 5 years, but we overestimate how much we can get done in a year. And that's why I know in the past I've felt very frustrated, and you may have experienced the frustration as well, where it's like, hey, I can't get what I want, or I haven't been able to achieve all my goals and things. And so sometimes seasons of exploration happen, and that's totally fine. You never know less about achieving or living out a goal than when you set it. So it's okay to course correct or decide of like, oh, I've gotten this far into it. I'm like, there are some things that come with living this reality or this goal or achieving this goal that I'm not sure I want to do it anymore. Totally okay. You have all that knowledge and the information that you gained. Bring it over to whatever the next thing is. Totally cool. But it's like, what's the first season? This is where they do kind of encourage you to break it up by month. But you can do this with, you don't have to tackle all your goals all in January. Like, nobody can do that. And so it's okay, well, this is what I'm going to focus on. And then you can kind of do for each thing. So spread out your starts is what it says here. And I really agree with that. Because as an example, my very first year with PowerSheets, I did all my work, had all my goals. 2018 March, I found out I was pregnant. So the rest of the year was just like, all right, cool. I don't pregnant well, so stuff's just gonna happen. My one goal is to safely deliver this child, and I did. So, I like that this, because you get April. Oh, here we go. No. Where did we? Oh, yeah, it is. Here we go. And what I like is, like, just because you set stuff here, later on they have this quarterly refresh section, which I absolutely love, because that was where I started letting go of these were the goals that I set. I have to cling to them, and I'm like, that's an us thing. You don't have to do that. And so that lets you have, and it does it, at the end of March, at the end of June, at the end of September, and of course at the end of in December, where you can also kind of go into it, which I think is really, really good and important. Actually, I don't think it has it at the end of the year. It's year-end stuff in December. But you can kind of do this. So just because you're setting stuff here doesn't mean you're like beholden to it. This is just to give you a good enough idea to get going. That's all this is get a good enough idea to have a direction, pick it, continue on it for a quarter, and then at that point reevaluate it if it's still a direction. Because in my world, I work in SEO and I work in analytics, and you cannot rush either one of those things. They will take time. SEO sometimes takes a minimum of 3 months to even start to see anything. And that's if you're lucky and your site gets picked up pretty quickly. Um, Usually it can take 3 to 12 months is the reality. But then you can kind of, and then the word of the year. So this is essentially what you would do. And then, oh, I put it back in here. But basically you would do this. You can do why you chose it. I also like to include like, here's the word, and then do the definition as well. Because again, linguistics major background is coming into play. This was kind of the first of the pages where you could set up like, this is meant to hold your wildcards. And of course, I have some from like past year, my past years, tending tape, which I don't tend to use this a lot. I bought it thinking I would. My niece will probably wind up with this for her stuff, but I have plenty of washi tape. But that's how you can kind of get them taped in there for things. And I think this year one change I'm going to make is I want to, definitely bring my husband and sons into the planning for some of this, especially the family stuff, because it's like, well, what do we want to do? What adventures do we want to have as a family? Not necessarily this year, but just like ongoing kind of thing. So you can, this is for like doing a collage vision board or something like this. Sometimes I use this for like writing out the words or different things. But you can kind of bring it all together there. And then, it doesn't do any good to do all this work and then not actually do it. But then they have, this will be your first routines reset. I don't want to dwell over this because this is a lot of like what makes PowerSheets, but it's really, really handy because they literally walk you through everything. It's like having a coach in a book. And so I like that they have this routines reset as well. And then again, they give you this fourth space to kind of create your own routine. So this for me would probably be like, what are my business routines, or what are the work routines that I want to cultivate this year. And then you are ready to kind of roll in to did I miss it, or they don't have it? Okay, I may have missed it. I'll look back before I say it's not in here. Because one thing that they have that's in their actual planners that I really like, and then I wish they had put in here, but they may not have. I don't think they did. And that could be one of the big differences. It might be. And again, I could have fully skipped past it, but they definitely have it here because I saw it. And that's what I will do. And we'll get to what this stuff is. So quarterly refresh goals, plan for the year ahead. This is what I wanted. So they've added in this weekly rhythm ideas section, which I think is really good because it's like for the week ahead, or not the week ahead, but basically for the season ahead. And they have one of these at each quarter. You can say like, okay, Mondays, this is what our weekly rhythms are, what the ideal is. This is kind of like what you want to intentionally set, not so much, what you always have to live by and with, which I think is really important. I might actually divide this up into different quarters, or not quarters, but basically into 4 sections, simply because there's things that happen the first week, second week, third week, and fourth week of the month for us. And so we can kind of do that, or again, this is mine to do with what I want. I can do it, but I like that they have this because it helps a lot with planning and trying to like batch things together. But the month to month with these is really where it really streamlines some planning. Where you go, okay, what are my important to-dos? in January, what's on your calendar, like the big things. You have to do every little detail on your calendar, just what's on your mind, what goals you really want to focus on. And then I love this addition right here. Again, I'm a numbers person, I do analytics. And so it's, you just do a quick assessment of like, you know, on scale 1 to 10, you put it in here, and then you can kind of move forward so you can see month to month what your patterns are or what is growing versus not, because you might want to grow, really focus on like, you know, one area for a month, and then did focusing on that area help or did it move, which I mean theoretically focusing on it should help. And then yes, I've got the monthly spread here, but I can use this either for content planning versus the other one. I can just kind of sit down and do that one all at once and then either transfer it here or it'll already be in my digital system. So I may not use this as much, but I could use this as like a journal or gratitude. Like, this is what I'm grateful for here. This is what's this, different things for that. Okay, this is where they put it. So I just wasn't there yet. I wasn't patient. Funny how that works. But here you go. You can do that. Or, you know, with this notes section, I could do like, this is what it is, or note that something is every other week, or create a key, or that they've given you space for that. And actually, I don't think they do that every, no, it's not every month. It's just that January one, as you're setting in. So, each month you come in, you do, you know, this part monthly, and then you've got your break it down where it's okay, this is the goal, and this is where like if I've had in the past when I've used them, if I've had goals that have changed, and this section here is actually a little bit new because it used to be a lot more freeform, and I really like this, is where it's okay, what's the goal, and you do not have to fill, just because there's 6 here does not mean you have to fill out 6. It could be, I've got, you know, an overarching theme, and then this is, you know, mini goal 1, you know, mini goal for this month tied to that mini goal for that month. That's where the color coding system really helps for tying things together. So you can break down into sub projects or things like that. This is the bread and butter of the PowerSheets system. It's this tending list. And so it's like, you know, what are the monthly goals? And again, there's more lines here than there are here. So you can really see, you know, this is the progress that's being made. And you can break it out a little bit. Let me, I don't, and so you can do here your weekly action items or rhythms, as well as your daily habits. And these are all numbered by the date, for things. And so you'll see me kind of fill those out, fill those out over the year. And then this is where you can just do a good month in review. And what I think I will probably do, because this is a little bit something that I'm kind of developing the system I'm going to be using in 2024, because I do have reviews built into my digital system in Notion of whether or not I am doing that here, because when you're reviewing at the end of the year, this sometimes is a little bit easier to flip through than going through a database where you might have like a ton of them. So building the database will help me fill this out. And if you hear me talking database and you're getting freaked out, I track way too much or stuff. I'm me, you do not have to do that. But it's a system to create of like, hey, these are the things I was grateful for, so I can actually look back if I want. I'm seeing what I'm actually using versus not. And then again, you just go through each month, and then so that we basically covered everything that's going to be in every month. And so we go all the way back to the month of December. And so you do your month in review. And again, you have more of these pages that you can put the tending list in, or if you want to draw on them, go for it. But you can see, you know, cultivated year. It's that same January, February thing. And so I could use that in conjunction with the monthly planner. Where did I put that? There it is. So as you can see, this spread is very similar to this. And so I could either keep track of this or use this as a secondary, or again, life, professional, as well, because we're never just one thing. But you can see that. And then here's another protector page. You can ditch these, you can use them as bookmarks. But that is the PowerSheets and review and unboxing. Again, I have been using these for, this will be my 6th year, and I really, my desk is a little messy. I really enjoy it. So let's get, so essentially you've got this. I have my accessories pouch, so we will, I could keep all these in there, but you can keep wild cards and things. For right now, just gonna keep stuff. No, I can't get all of those in there. But I did not get a sticker book. But I actually didn't think about this clashing when I got it, but it doesn't really clash. It's one of the things I like about green, but everything's green there. And so I can put in, here's my quick start guide. Actually, that does not quite fit. Well, that's fun. All right. And for right now, I'll just stick the pencil pouch back in there. Nope. Well, I know this will fit in. So I can do, there's my sticker book. Blah. And you can fit, some of, one of the sheets in there. And the past ones kind of came in this sleeve, so I'll probably just reuse the sleeve. And so I've got that in there. And then I've got my pens. This and stick it all in here. Somewhere I have another pouch. But then that just lets me have everything do my monthly. Yeah, so I can put that underneath the pouch. So I'm sliding it underneath this pouch, but on top of the PowerSheets. So everything's all together. The guide in there. Zip that up. And then I have this, and then it just lives right here underneath my desk. So each day I can either do that, or what I'll probably do is, my PowerSheets will be up here either with me, or I'll have that. And I also like the wildcard pages, because you can, well, I won't open, I'll open favorites, because this is probably going to be the one that's similar to like last year's. Actually looks like we'll find out if they're all loose or if they are it doesn't make me think easy to open. There we go. Go to the corner. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to be a delicate flower about this. One of the core tenets of their brand is like, sometimes you just gotta get a little messy. Flowers grow in the dirt, life's not perfect, all that stuff. Okay, so it is all free. It's not go. I'll take that. But so they've given you like, here are your goals at a glance. So each quarter, so as you refresh it, you can kind of do that. So I could take this and then like put it up in my desk area, so I always see it, so I'm reminded of my goals each quarter. Fun list for adventures. They give you a couple of those. 4, so again, per quarter. Hey, guess who needs this? Like, what to read next. I can track my books that I read. They also have a cultivated reading journal as well, but because I use Readwise and it syncs all my notes and stuff to my Notion, this could still be fun to use for that. Go-to meals. I really am not a fan of the question, like, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, food. I don't like to think so. Maybe meal planning is something we need to pursue as a family this year. But we kind of figure out favorites as family. 2 dinners, which I like. Like, hey, here's our list. I like this celebrating wins. Morning routine, and I think probably, oh, no, just 2 of those. So you can figure out biannually. Of course, some of these could also be repeated in these. But daily rhythms for evening routine. I like this weekend reset. Ooh, schedule, food, art. I like that because that's how we kind of refer to stuff as tidying sometimes is it's a weekend reset. It's not meant to, yeah. And you can do like, 1,000 hours to master something. So a little tracker of like, hey, I spent this many hours. That's kind of cool. You've got a daily habit tracker, which is handy because I mean there's something fun to like checking a box, but also just like coloring it in is also fun and wonderful. Encouraging words, which is good. So you can always be like, hey, if I'm stuck, pick one and use these affirmations. This is one that's definitely on my list of organization and decluttering, because yeah, we, we're not bad, but like we have a lot of stuff that we can just pass on to be loved elsewhere as well. And then ideas for how to tend our living spaces, which is good. Celebration. And so that's more of those. That is this year's PowerSheets, and I can't wait to kind of dive in. And again, this is not a sponsored video. They did not pay me anything to do this. I have just used their products for the last 6 years. It did fundamentally change how I approach goal setting, other than I wasn't really doing it before. And then also introducing to that quarterly planning, and not just quarterly planning, but like quarterly refresh. And so the other piece of it is I do like rolling quarterly annually planning because you do want to plan for the long term, which is the year. But then the advantage of doing it and really focusing on quarter and repeating that process is, one, it builds your planning muscle because planning is completely a skill. Like I do not, my executive function, which means like how we execute, plan, prioritize, and organize things, does not function. So this is completely a learned skill and you can do that. But I thank you for your time. And you'll see more of this system, how I'm setting up for my 2024, how I use it with Notion. And so that's where a lot more of this will come in. Have a great day.